The mics will be better when they're on.
Special awesome! Yeah, selfie with all of us.
Okay, now pretend you really like us.
Selfie.
Pictures with 1,000 dumb words. Hello? Oh, I think I hear something. Oh, there's a volume. Oh, when you take the mute off.
Just on your the other channel.
Okay.
We can share.
You might have to share mine.
You didn't really want to hear what Eric had to say. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's not like we were coming in here to do a panel or anything. Oh. All right. So, Q&A stuff? That's going to feedback. All right, great. Anybody have any questions for us?
Okay, you. Yeah, the girl with the ears that you just and the glasses and the somewhat Nazi-esque arm. I'm not promoting Nazis. Wait, what did you want to ask?
How did you feel when you did Sonic 06 as Mentalist?
How did I feel when I what?
When you did the role as Mentalist.
Evil Hedgehog. It was fun. Playing bad guys, you'll hear a lot of performers say this, is fun because you get to do so many things that you can't admit to doing in public. And when you look at a pretty standard kind of story, the hero reacts to what the bad guy is doing usually, right? So it's fun to be the instigator, you know? Everybody likes the bad boy, right?
Yeah.
Good question.
Oh, over here.
I just wanted to say that it's such an honor to meet you. You guys were like my first anime, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you.
Oh, thank you. We are definitely truly humbled by that, though, just so you know. I mean, when you say things like the voice of our childhood, stuff like that, it actually does mean something to us, so we do not take that for granted.
Yeah, just to expand on that, we do what we do because we have certain aptitudes that allow us to do this kind of work, and we show up and we do a job. And the idea that I would have fans of any kind is so surprising to me, not because I have terrible self-esteem, that's a whole other panel.
That's on Sunday.
Yeah, right. But because, you know, that's as surprising to me as like a plumber having lots of people say, "Dude, my sinks, they work awesome! That was great the way you made the pipes work!" You know, I'm showing up and I'm doing a job, and I had the great fortune to work with Eric on the show.
Well, Mario is popular.
But that is so precious to me. Thank you. Yes, with the headphones.
What's it like being an actual Pokemon?
Of an actual? Are they real? Eric, have you been holding out on me? Did you know?
Unfortunately, that's what Brock makes his jelly donuts out of. That's why he doesn't have a girlfriend. There you go, you asked. You wanted to know.
I will say, though, that Trico was one of my favorite things to do in the booth.
Do the voice.
What was it like playing multiple characters in one show?
Oh.
It's fun. It's fun. Finally, enough things for my different personalities to do. I was doing Yu-Gi-Oh! And then Samurai Deeper Kyo came along. Another split personality, and I was like, maybe I gotta go back to therapy. I get typecast as the... No, actors love to perform, and it's great to have a variety of different things to play, so the more the better. I mean, and Eric's done obviously his tons of that.
Yeah, I mean, Brock and James, that's great.
Right.
And the good thing is we dub one at a time. I've only had to do James and Brock at the same time. I once had to do a radio interview, a phoner, where they wanted to talk to me, Eric Stuart, and Brock and James, and I had to sort of pay one.
Wow.
The good thing was that it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, so I wasn't quite awake yet, and I think that was the only way I could really focus.
In the back, you, sir. You. Okay.
Did you voice Vector in the Shadow Hedgehog game?
I'm not sure. I know that sounds like a lame answer, but
No.
it's unfortunately true. You, sir.
Do you remember the episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they explained the ancient Egyptian link? Do you believe in reincarnation?
I do remember the episode, and I actually personally, ever since I was a kid, back in the 1800s, I have always had an attraction to Egyptology, ancient Egypt. I probably was influenced a bit by Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I found that the incorporation of Egyptian mythology in the series very appealing. And in terms of reincarnation, I don't think that anybody can definitively say what happens after we leave this realm. But I have a very open mind. Or the shadow.
Well played.
Yeah. Where's Bakura when you need him?
I have some stories, and I'll tell you them if you're interested.
I'm sorry?
I have some stories.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear them, but let's first get some more questions from the rest of the fans here. You.
This is gonna be weird, but a friend of mine asked.
Weird? Come on. I do anime.
In the first episode of GX, you voiced older Yugi, and it was more of a Yami-ish voice. And I was wondering if you had your own take on what Yugi's voice would sound like 10 years later.
Yugi's voice 10 years. So you're saying that in the original episode, it wasn't as high. The voice wasn't as high as it became.
Right.
And so what would happen if that high voice actually grew up and went through puberty? It probably sound a lot like I sound right now. But that's an interesting point. So in that, you'll notice in a lot of shows, like The Simpsons, if you watch the earlier episodes, they don't sound exactly like they sounded much later on. And so there's a process of finding what's right for the character, and this is influenced largely by the producers and the directors. So what I do as a performer is try to satisfy as best I can those demands. I am not the kind of actor that goes in and says, no, it must be this, and that's all I'll do, and whatever. So there was, some inconsistency there, but I think ultimately we serve the story and the character. Yeah. You want to call him?
No, keep going, Dan.
You in the back, sir. You in the red shirt.
Dan, are you ever surprised that none of the other characters react to the change in Yugi when you switch it out?
No, I think I once addressed it as Kaiba. I think I once addressed that in an episode, right? Back me up, fans.
You did.
I did.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I also
Learn your Yu-Gi-Oh.
But he is correct. For the most part, there wasn't much said about it. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yes, you sir with that.
Did you ever end up playing the card game?
Yeah, one Thanksgiving, soon after the series, first started and it was becoming popular, I was home visiting family, and one of my sister's friends had a son that was really into the show, and so we played several rounds of the game, and he totally kicked my ass. So I only act like the king of games on TV. Let's have a woman here. Yes.
I've got a comment and a question, if that's all right.
Okay.
Comments is, I grew up watching the standard Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Digimon, but Yu-Gi-Oh really stood out to me because of the lessons it taught about standing up for yourself and learning to be a better person with almost with the alter ego of
Sure.
Yami to Yugi.
Sure.
And it really helped me to see Yugi growing, and it helped me to kind of get some confidence in myself. So I really want to, and I liked Kaiba, but he was kind of a jerk, so.
As he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
True.
Sure.
And but I loved all the most of the characters.
That's a beautiful comment. Did you also have a question?
The question was, there were 5 seasons: Duel's Kingdom, Battle City, Virtual Realm, Orichalcos or Awaken the Dragons, and then Dawn of the Duel, and then Dawn of the Duel. What would you say was your favorite season, and do you have a reason why it was your favorite season?
Is this to me more than
You wanna
Either.
know that?
Either.
Both.
either?
Both is fine.
Well, you weigh in first.
Yeah, I would say that I actually preferred the beginning of the thing. I liked the
Alright,
entire creation of what we were doing. We were all both as production side, you know, the writers, the director, the actors. We were all finding, you know, the path to take, and so that was exciting. You know, once you get into the character, that's great. I mean, where the storyline takes us, but I kind of like, you know, putting the cake together, making, you know.
Yeah, the discovery.
Yeah.
The discovery is interesting, and
Yeah.
and just a response to your first comment. I think that's great. You know what you got out of that show, and for me as a performer, it was really. Felt very fortunate to be working on something where we had, you know, split personality, two characters that help balance each other out, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're growing up and you're not terribly, you know, confident, or you have some things that you wish you were better at. I think we often imagine, oh, if I just had some guiding force to help me believe in those aspects of myself. So I thought that was great. And also Yugi helps Yami, you know, as the series goes on too, kind of evens him out. Because he does have some temper issues, or maybe he just drinks too much coffee. But
He's a little
Like
crazy.
how it goes. Oh my god.
but that was great. And also,
Locked in the tomb
and,
for potentially thousands of years, and you have some anger issues too.
but also linking to what Eric was saying about the beginning of the show, this may be surprising to recall, but that happened right after 9/11. We were originally going to air the first episode, and it got bumped because of the events of 9/11. And I got back into the booth within that week, and it felt so strange to be doing anything. You know, we live in New York, you know, right when it happened. And I was trying to, you know, come up with some way of getting through the session just so I wouldn't give a lousy performance, but it just seemed so irrelevant. Everything seemed so irrelevant at that time. And I thought, well, okay, I'm doing something that might be helpful, right? Just as a form of entertainment. For kids, right? They're scared. So, that was cool. But in terms of my favorite episode, or favorite season,
Episode works too.
it would be the one that's mostly about me. No, I can't.
Most of them were though.
I did. I mean, the beginning was great, and I also think the series concluded well. And I really respect that they didn't try to make the story something other than what it should be. Like, they didn't extend Yami and Yugi for years and years and years and years after that would, you know, be interesting, right? So, and I think the way they ended the series was good.
Good question.
Yeah.
What was your favorite fan moment?
Fan moment?
Yeah.
I think they're about to come. He told me to say that.
Favorite or funniest
Right.
moment?
My favorite was, I was doing a con recently, and this young woman walked up and said, "You probably don't remember me, but 15 years ago I wrote you an email when I was in middle school, and I wanted to do an interview for my class. And so I thought, I'm going to write Eric and see if he'll do an interview. And of course, I do answer all my fan mail. I might be slow, but I do answer everything. And so it was a series of questions about the business, and so I answered them, and she said, I was very shy. I was like a new kid in the school. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I thought this would be kind of a neat thing to do. So I got you to do this interview, which I couldn't believe you said yes. And I read it in class, and all my friends were so impressed with the fact that I got you to do this that all of a sudden I became popular, and it gave me confidence. And so I'm looking at her, and she's this beautiful young woman, and she's like, I'm here with my fiance. He's one of the vendors here who's an artist, and she's about to get married. And she goes, and I brought the paper. Would you autograph it?
Dang.
And I was like, yeah, that's what puts it into perspective. You know, you look at what someone has become with a little help from me. I mean, come on, that's a little, I feel a little, you know, that's pretty big, you know? So that's my best fan moment. Something like that.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I have two. One was, have you heard of Make-A-Wish?
Yes.
So there's a person back there with these dual, you know, just things that armature.
Yep.
Right. So there was a boy, and his Make-A-Wish was to meet Yu-Gi-Oh. and we had one of those. I know, right? It's like, but understanding that, that was what was significant for him. And you guys are obviously fans of the material, and some people look at the show and they're like, well, whatever. But that's meaningful, to me. And also, I haven't told this story very often, but I would not have met the woman that became my wife had it not been for Yu-Gi-Oh!
How so?
So, yeah.
Yeah. Good question, though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I like the guy that's holding up his hair.
Let's do that. He's sacrificing a lot for that question. Notice me! It's red with blood.
Yeah.
So fun.
During the show, what was your all's favorite card to say?
Oh.
Card saying.
The Blue Eyes White Dragon. I get asked all the time, are you tired of saying this? I'm like, no. If I got tattoos, it would be on my shoulders. That's all I ever say.
Say it with emphasis, though.
And now thematically, the Dark Magician is linked to the Yugi and Atem. But in terms of just actually performing in the booth, it would be Exodia.
Yeah.
Now say it with emphasis to each other. Say it with emphasis to each other.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
All right. I'll play my card, then you can kill me with it. I play my Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Well done, Kaiba. But now that I have assembled all the pieces of Exodia, obliterate!
Every time.
It's the writers, man. It's the writers. The good guy usually wins.
Yeah. Big question. Put your hair back on.
You miss. You.
Is there any character that you've ever voiced that most relates to you?
Well, so much of the little bits and personalities of all of them. I mean, Brock could definitely have been me in high school. I liked girls, so I can relate to that. I think Kaiba's sarcastic, biting comments. I mean, anybody who's friends with me knows that that's not a stretch. So that's kind of a part of that. Also, I think that what was cool about Kaiba was that he's, even though everyone says, oh, he's a jerk, he still has a mission. He's consistent.
Right. He's not evil.
Yeah, and he's not evil. The example I use is kind of like Apollo Creed to Rocky. I'm his sparring partner. I make the hero keep at the top of his game. I'm not his enemy. If I wasn't around, he could just wallow and just relax and sit by the pool. I keep him there at the top of the game, and I think that I like the depth of his character. So that kind of relates, I think, to me, is that I'm definitely someone who is driven. Nice. So there's two characters right there.
Nice.
In general, while you always endow parts of yourself into the character, you have to, or else you're not really doing the job right. I don't identify with my characters, and I think if you were to try to make an anime out of my personality, nobody would watch it. But there is something to the duality of both Yugi and Atem that, I think we can all relate to. And with Samurai Deeper Kyo, I did have particular sympathy for Kyoshiro, the more humble one, because he did have, and he was the one that won, right? It was because he was not consumed by anger, right, and still had power, right? And in my life, I try to be somebody who is generous, but it is aggravating because that can often be mistaken for weakness. So